Well, welcome to Behind the Point. I'm Pastor Jeff, and I'm here with two special guests this week. And so we have Crystal and Wilson Asencio, and most of you will know them as part of our worship team. And Wilson specifically is our production director, and so he takes care of all the technical side of things: the sound, the lighting, the cameras. The mixing of all of it, and then Crystal is oversees our worship team, our band, and so both of them are very talented. Crystal plays piano; she's our lead vocalist, and then Wilson does everything: what drums, guitar, bass. He sings, he dances. I don't know about that, but
I try to
but
dance.
they lead our worship team and plan out our services with us, our big events, and so. At a future episode, we're going to talk more about worship, but we have a different subject today that I'll talk about in a moment here. But first, I wanted to just hear a little bit about you. If you'll share, how long have you been married? Tell us about those little kids running around the church.
Yeah.
So either of you could respond to that.
Sure. Yeah. So we've been married for 9 years. 9 years this September.
Nice.
So
Yep.
we just
Congratulations.
fulfilled 9 years, which is a huge accomplishment. And we're extremely excited about it. It's funny in terms of us getting married, it was all in years basically. So we started dating. A year later, we got engaged. A year later, we were married. A year later, Crystal was pregnant with Melody, our first kid. And then a year after Melody was born, we were pregnant with Micah. And so, so we have two kids,
Back to
Melody
back.
and Micah, and back to back. It's just years all the way around. And so, yes, we have Melody and Micah. Melody is 7 and Micah is 5, turning 6 in January.
Yep.
If you want to share a little bit more about them.
They're crazy. We love them to death, but they are crazy. I would say Melody loves to dance.
She's really good too.
She
She's like
does.
winning competitions all the time. Huh?
She has a lot of fun with it. Yeah, she loves dancing with her friends, and Micah is now dancing as well.
Nice.
So that's exciting for this season. And Micah loves also to play drums like Daddy. So
he's cute. I always see him. He does the praise song.
he loves
Yeah,
praise.
he
That's
loves
his favorite
Yeah.
song.
And that is
Cute.
definitely his favorite worship song. And if you haven't seen him, you probably have seen him at the
Yes.
church. They're usually running around. Melody's usually doing cartwheels around the around the sanctuary, just around, or holding a baby in her hand. And Micah is a little boy with kind of
Little
brownish
him.
hair with
He looks
little
like
me
him.
basically with the cross earring in his ear, and you probably see him running around with all the rest of the kids at church. And
Night
He's got-
services, I'm running around with them before
Yep.
the service, playing hide and seek
Yeah.
and stuff. But
he's got infinite energy
Yeah.
from the moment his eyes open to the moment they close at night. The energy doesn't stop.
It never
they're
stops.
sweet kids. And both of you, not many people know this, but you do things out besides just your role at Centerpoint. You spend a lot of time here. You give a lot to worship and being part of our staff, but you have other jobs as well. So what do you do?
Yeah.
First.
Yeah, so I on a day I work as a process automation developer for Southern California Edison. One quick disclaimer, although I work for Southern California Edison, I cannot help with any of your bill needs or power outages. I deal with the same exact thing as well. I have
So
to
I
call the
can't
same
complain to you about why is this so
I've had family
expensive,
members and
Wilson?
friends text me like, dude, what can you do about this? I'm like, man, I'm trying to figure out what I can do about it for myself. I don't even know what to do. And so
That's
what,
kind of like IT side of things.
yeah, so a
right?
lot of it is basically, in a nutshell, automating processes and jobs. Basically, a lot of manual work with spreadsheets that people utilize, or just doing stuff with tools. We utilize new tools to be able to streamline those processes. And so one thing I actually really like about that, and then also being part of the church, is that, in a sense, my career, it allows me to be creative in all aspects. And
Nice.
so at my day-to-day, it allows me to be creative when I'm creating formulas or coding to automate different things, or figuring out just different ways to be able to streamline something. Here at the church, it allows me to be able to be creative in, stage design and camera visuals and lighting, in music directing and worship, and just different sonical sounds. And so I really enjoy the fact that I do get to do just creative things
That's really
for
cool.
a living in all aspects. And so
A different spectrum of creative things. That you
yeah.
do. That's
And so
cool.
one thing that our friend we were just talking on the way here, he made a joke saying, like, hey, love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. And it's funny how, you know, that's a cliche thing to say, but in my ass, from regards to myself, like,
You
I
really
believe
enjoy
that's
it.
true. I really
Yeah, that's
enjoy what I
good.
do. And like, I never feel like I wake up like, oh man, I gotta go. Of course you have those normal days where like
You're
you're
tired.
tired, you didn't sleep as much or something like that. But I truly enjoy coming to church even every morning. I was telling the worship team not that long ago that, I think it's been about the last 15 to 18 years that I've woken up every Sunday for a sound check about 6 a.m.
Yeah.
for the last 15 to 18 years. And so, but even now, I still enjoy it and I love it.
Cool.
And
That's
it's
awesome.
truly a pleasure.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I should have asked you opposite to tell me what the other person does. This my spouse is like, I don't really know what they do. He works for Edison.
Yeah.
And
I could not
and that's
explain
usually
it.
the question, like at parties and stuff. Chris will like, what do you do for Edison again?
Yeah.
And I'll have to like, I usually try to explain it like I'm explaining it to my child,
Right,
right? Just
I
because
know.
like if you tell someone
If
you're a
you don't get it,
developer, it could be something.
it's a lot of big
Development
words.
is a grand thing, and so
That's good.
Yeah.
And Crystal, you have another job
I
as well.
do. I work at a dance studio that's not too far from here, and I am the office manager. It's really special to me, though, because I grew up dancing there. And so they are like family, and now being able to watch my daughter dance there as well, and my son now, too.
Yeah,
It's just such a privilege
that
for
is
me.
really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, let's we're gonna get into a more difficult subject today.
Mhm.
And so I want to prepare the listeners. If you have kids that are listening, little ears, just be mindful that this is a heavier episode. We're going to talk about death and specifically just a story. The two of you went through a major loss in your life with the miscarriage. And Pastor Josue talked about this a couple weeks ago at church, and you had given him permission. And I appreciate you coming in with me today, too, just to share this with me and with those who listen. It's a area not many people talk about. And a lot of women and husbands suffer pretty quietly through these seasons. And so if you can, would you just be willing to share part of that story with us?
Yeah. So it's definitely probably been one of the most difficult seasons that we've ever walked through. We never planned to lose a child. But through it all, from the minute that I knew it was happening, like, God is so good. And He brings people into your life for the moments that you'll need them. And it's so cool to just see, like, the comfort that He's given us through this time. So
when did this take place?
It's happened in July. It was on a Sunday. I had started bleeding early in the morning when we got here for sound check. And I kind of already knew what was starting to happen, but I just wanted to stay in church because, like, that's my happy place, is being here, being with my friends and families and just worshiping our Lord. And so the bleeding had gotten pretty severe by right before the 10:45 service. And so Valerie was like...
So you already led 2 services before that.
Yeah. And Valerie was like, you need to go. Like, I know you don't want to go, but you need to go just to make sure that you're okay, like you're healthy physically. And I'm so thankful that she did push me to do that. Just because there were other things that, like, I had to get methotrexate shots after, and just a lot physically on my body. But even before we left, one of my other friends had come, and she just sat there and cried with me. And just having friends that care so deeply to cry with you, or it's just like there's no words that can just explain, like, the comfort that they bring, that God leads them to bring with us as well. And so that day was really hard. We got to the doctor and we waited. They saw us pretty fast, but we had the ultrasound and we saw the doctor, and they're like, well, you may be miscarrying, you may not. Like, we don't know. You just got to go home, and if it, like, worsens, like, let us know. And so I was like, okay. But we went back. We went to Valerie's house, actually, and we I took a nap because I was just really exhausted and I wanted to come back to church that night. But before we had made it back, I had passed the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And so
How far along were you?
7 weeks.
Had you told people too? Obviously, the two of you knew.
We knew. We had told a few friends, a few close friends. And then both my grandmas knew.
Mm.
And so, and then our kids knew as well.
Yeah.
Melody actually, she found out. I had left a pregnancy test on the bathroom counter, and she found it, and she was like, "Wait, you're pregnant?" And so she told Micah, and it was just that's how they found out.
Yeah, we were at the moment we had informed, I believe, you and host Pastor Sway, and we were going to announce it to the entire staff, and we didn't get to do that. Of course, we were getting ready to do that, but she talks about the support group we've had, and just the day of that Sunday, it was a blessing just to have our team be, and it just speaks to our team just being all the growth that has happened with our team, musically, spiritually, relationally, like in all aspects. And so that day, I wasn't even in the band. I was running front of house sound because Dan was on vacation, enjoying some time off, and we didn't know what we were gonna do. I was running front of house. Dan wasn't here. Our pastoral staff is teaching, and Crystal was leading, and so we ended up taking off after, I believe it was 9:15 service.
Yeah, right before the 10:45.
Right before 10:45, and Patrice stepped in to run sound, and Xander swapped over to the video switcher.
Our band was just easy with switching, and
kind of
they
just
were
like
just let's
led
do
the
it.
songs without us, and
it was
just
a
gave us that
really big blessing.
that time to just go get that taken care of. And I remember that night clearly. We wanted to come back, and we did come back that night. We were scheduled to be on the team, and Pastor Sway told us, like, hey, don't come, like, don't worry about leading, don't serve tonight, and we're like, well, we want to come. And he just told us, I can't tell you not to come to church, but I can tell you not to come to work, so don't come to work. And so we just came, and we just attended service that evening, and I believe we went out to dinner after. And
why was that important for you?
That was because there's nothing we'd want to do more than to worship our God, just in the midst of all that stuff. There's a lot that goes into that, and being home for us, like, it just reminded us more of, like, that void that we had, right? We see our kids running around, we're just there, we're just watching TV or doing something, and so being at the church around the people that love us and that support us, and our kids being there too. It's also an example for our kids to show them that, hey, like, even in the midst of these chaoses, at that time they didn't know what was going on, but in hindsight now they will know what went on, and like, that's a place we want to be, and we want our kids to be in the midst of trials and seasons as well. And so that's why it was important for us to be there.
Yeah.
And this was not a one-day thing. It's been a season. Yeah. And physically, you mentioned just all these shots you had to have, and we were praying every Sunday and Wednesday you were here. We want your numbers to be this. And what are some things that were surprising for you along the way? I guess just over as the weeks went by, some of the initial.
I'll say one that was really surprising to me is, honestly, and we'll probably touch more on this later, but how many people have actually experienced miscarriages in their life. I've had people reach out to me during that time, and I can't say names because I don't know if they want that all out there, but we've had a lot of people reach out during that time, that season, saying, hey, this happened to us at this time and point. And we're like, oh man, like, we didn't.
Yeah, no one knew.
Like, and even I have family members that have had it, and I didn't even know that that's happened, and all that stuff came to light during that time, and it kind of just enhanced that support group. And that was surprising to me, for sure, just knowing, like, dang, there's a lot of people that this does happen to, and wow.
Any thoughts on why that's the case? Just as you talk to others that hadn't shared that before, or did you have reservations about the two of you even sharing it?
You got.
I think what happens is that a lot of people get nervous or afraid of what people or how people are going to respond.
Yeah.
I feel like with miscarriages, unfortunately, people have, and I know people mean well when they say certain things, but a lot of the comments that comes from hearing about a miscarriage seems a little more like it doesn't really help, and so people don't really want to feel that discomfort or that the extra sadness, so they just say, I'm not going to say anything because they're afraid of what someone's going to say. Even a simple thing is like, oh, well, you could always try again. It's like,
Right.
yes,
Yeah, so
but
it's not gonna replace that child.
and yeah, and so
Yeah.
people don't want to hear that, and there's also people that have those beliefs of the fact that miscarriages aren't as crucial if it's early on in the stage, or if you're not 15 weeks or something like that, you're only 6 or 7.
Yeah.
6 or 7. That wasn't intentional, I
That was the
promise.
joke.
I hang
All
out
the
with my
kids right
kids
now
too
are
much, I
saying
guess.
6, 7. Yeah.
But and I think that people are just ultimately afraid to speak up and say that, and I know for men, like men don't want to feel weak, and so our pride kicks in all the times, and we don't want to say that we're experiencing something or that we have something going on that makes us vulnerable or emotional in a sense. Um but one thing is like, no, we do definitely need to speak about this, and these things are big. They're really tough seasons, and they definitely need to be brought to light.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for just talking about it,
Yeah.
even being willing. I mean, I know that's just even to hear it come out of Pastor Josue's mouth on, during a sermon 5 times on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
5 different messages. Like that puts a lot out there.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for speaking up, because a lot of people don't know those things. And we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the ways to help others who are going through it in just a little bit.
Yeah.
What were some of the helpful things? Sometimes people say insensitive things.
Yeah.
What were helpful things that people did say or do during that time? I know some of that initial, that day of was really helpful, the team stepping up.
Yeah.
What about in some of the days to come?
I think people just like saying I'm sorry, just hugging, like just like when the ladies would come up and just hug me, like that meant the world to me. Like even if they didn't know what to say, just hugging me, or just like you could just feel the love from others around. I think that was really cool to see, and how God just places certain people in your life that just at the right times that you need, like just a simple smile can make the world's difference. So during this season, also some of our dear friends had lost their family dog, and I went to text them, hey, if you need anything, please let us know. But instead, I ended up texting, hey, if you need a haunting, please let us know. And she wrote us back, and I was just like, no. And we both just were cracking up laughing. And I'm like, wow, God, like, you're so good. You knew in that moment that we were both just so sad that like you could still bring us just like a little bit of joy and like a silly text message. Right?
Yeah.
So that was like something that was also like very like surprising to me, that like, wow, God, even in the midst of all this, like you're still working and you still can do really good things. And I've found out through this season as well, like a few of my friends are expecting, and I'm so excited for them. Like God is still doing amazing things, even in the midst of our pain.
Is that, was there like an awkward tension ever? Someone's having a baby, you lost a child, where did that change dynamics? How did you kind of navigate that?
I think people expect it to be. I definitely had to pray about it before, because I knew it was coming. Like another thing that had happened is like he mentioned we sang Who Else?
Yeah, Who Else Is Worthy?
So we plan our sets normally 2 to 3 weeks in advance. Like I didn't know. I knew I wanted to do the song, but I didn't know the season that it
wasn't picked because of
right. Yeah. And so even going back to like that Wednesday night, like singing "You Heal My Brokenness, Show Me Your Glory," I was singing it out of desperation, and just knowing that the Lord would heal. And now when I sing it, it's just like such a reminder that, wow, God, you really do heal our brokenness. And there was something else that was super special to me is we had planned also to have some of our friends come and lead worship that following Sunday, which was the Sunday right after I had miscarried. And God just knew that we would need them at that time. They also had experienced a miscarriage probably like 7 years prior. And just seeing them and them knowing how to comfort us
Someone
was
that went
like,
through it.
Yeah.
yeah, the Lord just knew that I would need to see old friends. And it was just like such a blessing to just be able to also just sit with them and just worship with them. Like I remember just worshiping that night, like while they were leading, because I got to just sit out that night and worship. And it was just so incredible.
Yeah. And a blessing to that too. I mean, they are the good friends that she's talking about. They also have a son as well now. That's a blessing that they have a son. He's Micah's age, and so they get to play around together, and that was also a great thing to do. And I think also to add on to what she said in terms of friends, is we realized and we saw that people just really made themselves available. Even when they maybe they didn't have the time, or like, and truthfully, maybe they didn't feel like doing anything that night or that morning or that afternoon. A lot of our friends just like made themselves available and sacrificed their time to be with us.
Sit with us.
Yeah, and just be there. And that's one thing that helped out a lot. It was just, they, I guess, understood that we didn't really want to just be home.
Yeah.
And so just coming over or hanging out, it was always
the community made a big
the community
difference.
made a big difference.
Yeah.
That's cool. God, it's neat just how when we open our eyes to it, we see God's grace in so many things. It's like, doesn't minimize the situation at all, but it's like God does, like, those are miracles and blessings and just how divine appointments of how he puts the right people in our lives or little things, moments of laughter, like you said earlier. That's awesome. How would you say this has impacted your faith? This journey over the last weeks, months, just going through this, how
it has
changed?
impacted my faith, I think, just to fully rely on the Lord and knowing that he is faithful and that he is just and that he is good, and that even though we may walk through bad things, like he still has good plans for us. I thought it was really cool that Pastor Josue shared that Bella's favorite verse is Jeremiah 29:11, because that's also like one of our favorite verses. We both have it tattooed on our arms. And
in our dining room, we also have this big old wooden like a
plaque.
Plaque that someone created for
there.
us for our wedding when we got married.
Cool.
That was on at our reception area, and so now it's on our dining room. But yeah, we do also have it tattooed on both of our arms. And
I think
that's for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans not to harm you, but to prosper you and give you
a future
and hope. Hope in the future.
In hindsight, those things, it's really easy to realistically to think that, man, I am harmed right now because like we were supposed to have a child and now we don't have that child. And it's like, as a human being, you're like, man, how can you not think that that's a harmful thing to do to somebody? But at the same time, like she said, God is just, and he does know the plan, and he knows what to do with these kind of circumstances. And there's a lot of things that have happened after that fact, after this season, that have been huge blessings, that God does really make good things from, even the moments where we don't truly understand. Of course, we're not always going to understand, but just always clinging to that. And in terms of faith, like it did test us, right? We've gone through some things as a couple, as individuals, even with with church and just church in general. But this one was definitely, like she said, it was definitely a really hard one, and we will say it was in some moments hard to cling to scripture and to cling to what God says and what he has for us. But at the end of the day, that's what we are here to do. We're called to do that. And we wanted to practice what we preach. We everyone always talks about all this stuff all the time, scripture, and this is what the Bible says, this is what we should do, this is what we should do. But the talking is always there, but not the walking is always there. And so we saw this as an opportunity for us to actually press into that even more. And of course, it still had some moments where we were.
Yeah, even if we didn't know that we were doing it, like we were
yeah.
just like I think the Lord can handle like when we're upset, like even like the night of, like just crying to the Lord, like He probably remembers, but like that night, it just my body could not stop shaking from how much like my head and my mind, everything was just trying to wrap around like, Lord, why is this happening? But there's been so many like scriptures and songs and just that constant reminder. When I had Melody, me and my dad took a drive to Starbucks, and he was the one who was like, I lost my brother when I was probably like 5. I think it was 5, and no, he was 5. I was 3. Got that backwards. But he had passed away, and that was really hard on my parents. And once I had my daughter, my dad got to have a conversation with me, and he was like, I never understood the story of Job, on how God could take so many things away, but Job still have joy. He's like, until you had this baby, he's like, I understand the Lord's joy. And I'm like, so that kept popping back into my head, and I'm like, okay, the Lord will still bring joy.
Yeah.
I just need to trust him and trust that he is good. And he gets bugged by it, but there's this song that has come out from LO Worship, and it's I'll Remind Myself. And the lyrics are, I'll remind myself, you're a faithful God. That is who you are. And I play it a lot.
And that's the only reason why it's not bugging, but it's just a thing. It's on loop.
Yeah.
24/7 in the household. I wake up, I go to the restroom, come out, it's on. I eat dinner, come out, it's on. I go work out, I come back, it's on. It's I mean, it's with anything,
Sure.
really, just repetitiveness.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it is
But I
definitely
need the
a great
reminder,
song
like,
and a great reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's been like the biggest thing, is just clinging on to God's words and knowing like the songs that we sing, they're not just like songs and words. Like it's actually saying like, God, I'm going to praise you when I feel like it, and I'm going to praise you when I don't, because you are faithful. And I think that's been a huge thing. Like
Good.
just like reminding like myself, like before like singing, I'm like, I've always known that, but like really clinging on to like, God, even if I don't feel this right now, like I'm going to praise you and I'm going to bless your name.
That's cool. You guys are just a walking testament of a love for God, and you. It's a privilege having you lead worship for us, because we know your heart is genuine. You want to worship God, and that comes across.
I think with that too, in terms of worship, it also reminded me of one thing that I know I speak with our worship team all the time, and with all of my worship friends. We talk about how musicians in general, when you play a worship song, something like This Is Amazing Grace, everyone's played that millions of times, like really millions of times, right? And people, as a musician, can get really just like, I'm tired of playing this song all the time. But I know for us, we've always encouraged people to always view it in a different perspective every single time, and to let it speak to us in those seasons that we're in. We're not always in the same season. And so even a song like that, This Is Amazing Grace, that as a musician, I've played probably 1 billion times at this point. And that song still speaks to me. Yeah. That song still speaks to me even after the fact, right?
Now
like,
it's different.
And now it's different.
Your grace
it's not,
is amazing now in this, even in this situation,
exactly.
you're present.
And so, and
your
that's
grace is still true.
Yeah. And that's exactly one thing we encourage all of our team to do, because it's really easy to just get caught up with the same motions all the single time. But
I like that.
But having it speak to you in that moment, will have you have a different perspective on the song every single time. And then you realize, man, this is like with that song, this is Amazing Grace. Like it is, how can we not be blessed and excited about that? And so
that's a great approach to think about worship. Just, what is this speaking today? That message is so powerful. We should reflect on it every day. The power of the cross. It's like, well, I've heard this message before about Easter. You know the tombs. That's a big deal. It has implications for every day of your life. Like like reflect on it. That's good. A few more questions here. yeah, we talked about Micah and Melody earlier, and her finding out they were pregnant, and obviously the kids knew about it. Um, how did you and how have you talked to your kids about this loss? Because they're little. They're how old?
5 and 7.
5 and 7. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's hard. That's a tough conversation because it doesn't click the same way that an adult would understand.
Right.
And they never met this little one. But it was still a conversation for them to process. Can you talk a little bit about just some of what were those interactions like? How have you helped them?
Yeah. We're still having a lot of those.
Yeah, I mean, I know for myself, you know, when Micah and Melody have asked, I've basically told them, you know, the baby's with Jesus right now. Jesus puts us in this earth, and he wants to see us. He wants to see me, he wants to see mommy, daddy, and you know, sissy and brother, but he wanted to see our baby first. He was excited to see the baby, so he took the baby home with him.
Yeah.
And they're blunt sometimes. You've shared with
Oh,
me.
yeah.
Just
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like,
Yeah, Mike is like,
so the baby's dead? I mean,
yeah,
like,
Yeah.
yeah. Michael just, that's how he's processing.
And
He's
that
like,
was-
the baby
you're like,
died.
whoa,
Yeah.
as an adult, like, oh.
And that was when it first
That's not
happened.
words we
Yeah.
usually say.
When it first
kids
happened,
talk
that was
about.
Micah. You know,
Yeah.
Melody
processed
Melody
a
has
little bit better.
processed it, and Melody's been really, not that Mike is doing anything wrong, but Melody's been really loving and caring throughout the entire process. Even like a letter she wrote to Chris Paul. I don't remember the exact words, but she said,
It's okay when
"It's
your baby
okay
dies.
when your baby dies because
You still have kids who
you
love
still have
you.
kids who love
Aw.
you." And
We love you no matter what.
yeah,
Yeah.
And it was,
And you know, as it's like a 7-year-old, that's her heart, her way of saying, like, she was with you in this.
yeah.
Yeah.
And she would just come lay with me, and she's like, I know you're sad, and it's okay. And she's just so strong. Like, she would just like hold me as I cried.
Aw.
yeah.
And so that was really special.
And
And you were
even
telling me
now,
about Micah, even the pumpkins.
yeah,
and
even now
so he
he's
wants
in a,
things for the baby.
Yeah, even now, like months later, we're still in the season. Micah's in a new grieving stage, and now I feel like it's hitting him a lot more than it did at the time. The other day he just broke down when he mentioned the baby being with Jesus, and he broke down crying, and he wanted to draw the baby a picture, and he wants a necklace. Because and it actually started because there's some accessories that are going to be part of something that we'll speak later in the podcast, but it brought up the baby to him, and he wanted to basically have one of those things
to remember the baby.
to remember the baby too. And so he's just been very sad and just in the weeping stage right now. And even we went to the pumpkin patch yesterday, and I didn't know this, but apparently, you know, white pumpkins represent
A lost baby.
And so he specifically wanted a white pumpkin, and so we're not gonna pumpkin carve that one or nothing, but he got it. And last night, like as we were all watching The Flash, and he before bedtime, and he grabbed the pumpkin and put it on all of our hearts, and then set it on the table for us to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And so he's in a different.
Yeah.
He's also in a different.
And every
grieving
kid's
stage
going
right
to
now.
process different.
Yeah, just like all of us process grief differently.
Yep.
So,
What's been helpful in your marriage in this season together? Like just something you felt like really comforted from each other, or something you felt really helpful from one another?
I think just being patient with each other. Like we both grieve differently as well. And so just understanding like how he grieves and how I grieve, like that was probably the hardest part for us at first, is to like understand that we're different and we're going to handle it and process it differently.
Yeah, and I will say, as you know, I agree with that 100%. I think also, you know, as a man, it's different because it didn't physically happen to us, right? And so we grieve differently, but at the same time, I know for myself, there is moments, I don't think that my family has really seen me like cry or nothing about it, because I've always been, as a man, like, okay, well, I have to make sure my kids are okay. I got to make sure my wife's okay. I got to make sure I'm there for them. And there's been moments, I think I've talked to you about it, separately, where like I'm just on drives to the church or by myself or to work or anywhere, and those are the moments that I'm just like, just just weep
Gonna lose
it a
like
bit.
crazy, like
Because you're finally alone. And
yeah,
quiet.
like
A
last
good
week.
car cry is good.
Yeah, last week I was listening to the song "Touch of Heaven." It's a Hillsong song, but I was listening to the rendition by David Funk of Bethel, and he does it with the tag of Alabaster Heart, and like I kid you not, like I basically cried like Josue. Like, like I felt my eyes were gonna be like super sore after that, and I never did before. I've listened to that song over and over again,
Yeah.
but I think just the fact that I just
Hit in a new
hearing
way.
I want a touch of heaven, like
Yeah.
that's all we want is a touch of heaven,
Yeah.
and it just reminds you of the fact that our baby, whether it was a boy or girl, is in heaven, and so. Just clinging to each other and being patient, like we have to be patient regardless of the circumstance or the season. Like that's what we're called to do, be patient and kind and loving, but just really sacrificing ourselves to really just be there for each other.
Yeah.
That's
good. Last question about this, and then I want to talk about a ministry that's coming up. Any misconceptions about miscarriages that you would want to say?
I think there's a lot. I think one is like I didn't realize that it really, like, miscarriages happen 1 out of every 4 women.
Wow.
I didn't know that it was that many people had experienced it. And so that's what really, I think, drove my heart's desire to want to come alongside other women who are going through this and just be there for them, how other women have been there for me and who just help support me. I want to be there for others too.
It's a very common loss that a lot of
Yeah.
women go through, and then
Yeah.
obviously the men in their lives as well.
Mm-hmm.
and I think part of that too is the idea that it only affects the
women.
the women and not the
Mhm.
men.
Or the family.
And the family. And I
Yeah.
will say that is a huge misconception because it does affect the family.
Yeah.
And we've seen it. It affects men. I've seen it with myself.
Mhm.
And even in just the simple sense that when I see my wife is hurt, I hurt for that because
Sure.
that's my wife,
Sure.
and like and just being believers and followers of Jesus, knowing that that people are a gift from God, and babies are a gift from God, and the fact that even though it wasn't in my belly, it was something that I was looking forward to, and it did.
Yeah.
And now I don't
Yeah.
get to access that, and so of course it is different in a sense, and most men will not grieve like women initially, but they will get to that place, and a lot of times it's when you're working out or in a car ride home or something where you least expect it, because like you are also trying to keep the household going, but that is a big misconception that it doesn't affect men, because it does. It definitely does.
Mm-hmm.
So this all, God's using this in at least one way. Well, He's spoken to you a lot of ways in this season, but this is now leading to a new ministry. And so it was on your heart. You said you wanted minister to be able to connect with other women who are going through this. Can you tell us a little bit about this group that that is forming?
So Held by Grace
Mhm.
is the name. And when I was praying about it, I was like, okay, so we as women need to be held by grace, but like also our babies are held by grace in the hands of Jesus. And so we were kind of going back and forth with the other ladies in the names, and nothing was like feeling right. And then once I texted them that, everybody was like, that's the
it.
one, that's the name. So that was really cool to see. And we just want a place where women can come together, and if they need to grieve, they can grieve, and we can have an open space to just talk about it and just support one another and find hope in Jesus.
Yep. And it's specifically for those who have dealt with miscarriage at this time?
Miscarriage, or even if they've lost a baby.
Lost a child. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the plan right now is once a month. That's
Once a
the
month.
second Sundays.
Second Sunday
At
of every
noon.
month at noon.
Okay.
And
There'll be some possible like lessons happening.
yeah,
Activities.
activities.
But most importantly, it's
lessons,
really time to
community,
grieve.
yeah.
So a lot of conversations, just
Yeah.
being with
An
other
open
women
space,
who can relate. Yeah.
exactly.
Good. We don't have anything yet for the men.
No, not
But
yet.
Wilson, can I put you on the spot and say, are you willing to talk to guys who have, whose wife or girlfriend has miscarried?
Yeah,
in this
absolutely.
season?
You know, I initially, it started with Crystal but it just speaks to the fact that it does affect the men too, and so I'm definitely open to doing that, and in any way I can and help, even if it's just hanging out with men and just having some coffee or whatever it is that people like to golf or whatever. Like, we could go do that and just have some conversations and man to man, and it also sharpens iron too, right? Iron sharpens iron, and so
And there's always the pastors will do the same as well, men or women too. So there's different options, but I think this the support group and then someone who gets it would be just really powerful. The light got dim, so our time's running out. But can I say, how can people reach you if they want to connect, if they want to get a hold of you?
If they want to email, it's crystal@centerpointchurch.church.
Yep.
They can come see me in person. I'm here
You
Sundays.
don't mind people walking
and
up
Wednesdays.
on a Sunday? Okay.
Not
at
at
a service
all.
day. Yeah.
Not at all.
Not during the service.
No, don't.
Yeah.
Maybe don't
But
come
do
during
like
worship.
Don't do like 30 seconds before, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
But afterwards would be good, or if it's a little
definitely.
time before
Yeah.
the service. Yeah. Same with you.
And same with mine. My email's the same. It's, instead of Crystal, it's Wilson, WILSON at centerpointchurch.church. And then you can also come to me as well. I will say I'm not usually always as present as her inside of the building all the time, because I'm usually running around making sure that tech and everything is going smooth too. But if you do see me in any way,
if you don't see him, come ask me and I'll
come
find
ask her
him.
and she'll find me. She knows where I live, and so
We'll track you down.
track me down. But yes, I'm definitely available as well.
Well, thank you for sharing. Is anything else that you feel like you didn't say that you really wanted to get across?
No, like we feel so supported by our church family, that it's just been just such a blessing to do life with others here.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Good. Well, we love you guys. I'm so sorry that you went through this season. We don't feel it the same as you do, obviously. It's more personal in your home, but it breaks our heart, just to watch you go through this. But like I said, I admire you both, your strength in it, your vulnerability in it, your transparency with us, even sharing it. Who knows who watches this? like you shared it online, hoping that it helps other people. So thank you for doing that. And for any women who are listening who have gone through this, probably even, can I ask like someone who's not been able to have a child, would they be able to connect too, even with some in this ministry? We'll connect you with someone too.
Definitely.
And guys, that's been that was a challenge with Carrie and me early in the marriage. So couples struggling to have kids, anything, whatever you're grieving, come talk to us. And if we can't totally relate, we'll find someone who could help you in this season. But we love you. Thank you for watching and or listening. And if you have any questions, again, Crystal at centerpointchurch.church, Wilson at centerpointchurch.church, or you could email our podcast at centerpointchurch.church. God bless you and have a great week.